Welcome to Season 3 of Pod Practice with Team USA player Quinn Finer, Team USA Grandmaster player Mikey Lunn, and myself, Alex Atkins. You can now find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and anywhere you listen to your podcasts. We want to keep growing the Pod Practice community, so reach out to us with your thoughts on IG and YouTube at podpractice_pod, or email us at show@podpracticepod.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode.
Is it mostly CNS or is it also muscle fatigue? Because I'm thinking about progressive overload, like with bodybuilders, powerlifters, etc. Like the whole strategy is like add a little bit more next week, add a little bit, just a little bit, or maybe one more rep, etc.
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on. So one, if you're strategically doing things, so another thing later in the season, you can focus more on isometrics and concentric versus eccentrics, and that will reduce some of the muscle damage. So for example, if you do a trap bar deadlift and you lift and then just let go or come down really fast so that you're not really working on the way down, you're not eccentrically loading, that is going to be less demand, both on your nervous system and your muscles. So you can strategically still lift heavier with a little less damage. I program a lot of isometrics as well. I did some right before we hopped on the call, because with isometrics, where you're just holding or pushing against something, it doesn't create the same muscular damage or inflammation, but you still improve strength and you improve like rate of force development, your ability to recruit.
Welcome, practice players, to the BNev, aka Moose episode. Second time we're welcoming Moose onto the pod. So we're happy to have you, Brian. How are you today?
I'm great. Yeah. I'm really pumped to be back. Kins, it's been fun to actually like be working with you in person, which is sweet. Just getting off a tournament in Seattle, so I just hit.
Really?
Northwest Fruit Bowl. It was pretty fun.
Fruit Bowl.
Yep.
Nice.
So I just to warm up, I hit a little mobility workout.
Nice. How's the body feeling post tourney on a Wednesday?
Woo! Not too bad. I got some little bit of swelling, a little bit of bruising here and there. I hit the ground a lot, which was by design. So, but yeah, pretty good.
I feel like the older I get, actually, the easier it is for me to get through tournaments because I hit the ground even less.
I mean, that's probably smart self-preservation. I do not hit it less, which is, makes recovery a challenge.
But also because I suppose I've been doing a lot of your programming, so it's helped me manage my body that much better.
I mean, that's part of it, man. I see some of your stuff. You're still moving out there. You're still working out with the young guys.
Oh yeah. You'll never get me to stop.
That's the goal.
And all of our young guys are just dropping like flies.
I know Saeed just texted me.
Yeah. Saeed's got a herniated disc. Quinn's got a torn hamstring. Kins just laughed. Well, Kins busted his knee, but also left.
That's how we had. So in Seattle this weekend, we had 8 or 9 male matching players, and for the last 3 games, we had like 7, and so it was an adventure. But that was like, man, it is a good thing I do this stuff because otherwise I would not be able to walk.
Yeah. They get you playing some O out there, BNev, or what?
Occasionally, yeah. Honestly, by the end, the second half of the last game, it was like, who can go out there? Mostly D, but a little bit of O. I'm ready for it,
That reminds me, because we didn't talk. We had Garrett on yesterday, so we didn't talk about ESC much since I was there. But we only played 5 games because it's 2 days, 3 days, all pool play games the first day. They canceled the finals.
Yeah.
Due to heat. Air quotes. It was like 85 something degrees and like no wind.
That was it?
And like, so we didn't want to play. A lot of our guys didn't want to play the last game anyway because they had a flight at 6 and it had rained earlier in the day. So like the rounds got pushed back a little. I mean, like me, I don't like. I want to go like play all the games, I suppose. I didn't care about missing the last game. We had already played Shrimp. We would have been playing them again. Like it doesn't matter at all at that point for like 5th place. But like if I had been like going to play in the finals or something, I just would have been so frustrated. Like and I was going to stay. I was like getting pretty hype. It was going to be RDU with Toby and Alan and Arthur from Belgium against Sakai, who was fun. And
they played Sakai.
So they canceled the last round due to heat. The women's final was like at halftime, and they just stopped it.
Wow.
And it just wasn't that hot. I just am it was a little weird, and it made me sad because I was just like, this is.
I've definitely been at tournaments where I feel like that would have been a prudent decision, the right decision. But I'm surprised that they did it at ESC 85 degrees. I wonder what the humidity level was like or what they were thinking.
Like it was definitely felt pretty hot, but just like for finals and stuff, I don't know, man. And just to like not play at all is just, right. I don't know.
I could see like, I mean, I wasn't there, but I could see, maybe extending breaks, timeouts are longer, taking heat breaks. But yeah, at PEC East, it was very hot and we played. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Wow, I never ran into you at PEC East. Did we?
No,
we never ran into each other at Masters.
I know. We got to do a better job of that. I know. Next time. But yeah, that was the heat is I've definitely had moments this year because like most of the tournaments have been super hot where I'm like, man, it is a good thing I've been out at the hottest part of the day on the turf conditioning. Yeah. Because I mean, that's part of it too, is like you can't assume everyone's been doing that. And if you have not acclimated to it, you're just out of luck. Like your body's not going to manage it well.
I just feel like there was something else going on because there's no way you would cancel like nationals.
You think there's another reason they might have canceled?
I feel like there was some. I feel like definitely the delay and the like that stuff went into it, but yeah, I don't know, just the finals of a tournament. It just kind of goes. It also just goes to show like no one cares and it doesn't matter. Not that no one cares, but like if it's just that easy to cancel the finals of a tournament, then. How important?
Why are they so worked up about other things?
Well, more just like how important is like the tournament really? Like it's not that like I feel like you're playing the games, you want to win. It's also just such an interesting thing for club because you want to win games for your ranking and stuff, but winning the actual tournament, it
doesn't really matter.
Like it's like kind of cool, but it like, and if we're just that quick to be like, tournament, right. like if people cared, they'd be like, no way, we're not going to cancel. You know what I mean? Like if it was like nationals, you would never. People would stay to the next day.
That said, they did cancel YCC finals one year.
Really?
Like
right, I remember that
in the middle of the first half, because of rainstorms, thunderstorms in Minnesota. So.
Right.
It was Buda and Atlanta. Boston and Atlanta had to tie for first place.
Wow.
I get that. And I do get what you're saying too with like the winning the tournament doesn't necessarily matter that much. Like if you're in the finals, for example, and you play a close game, the algorithm and the ranking, it's like, does it make that much of a difference if you win? I don't know.
Not really. It doesn't. Yeah. I mean, marginally so. Actually, did you guys see the LT World Bot Frisbee rankings from Cody?
Yeah.
Not this week.
So I actually don't know if they weight certain rounds of tournaments differently.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. It's just like late tournaments later in the year matter more.
I would like that. That would be a good adjustment.
Like a finals would be more important than semis, more important than quarters, more important than pool.
Consolation.
Because I mean, in some ways, so and I'll loop this back to heat training in a second, but like you played sockeye in quarters, Kins. In some ways, that's really good because you want to see sockeye. That's good for your rankings, but also it kind of sucks that you had to play them in quarters.
Yeah, like from a well, that's what's interesting. Like from a tournament perspective, if you're trying to win the tournament, it sucks because you just have a harder way through. But from a rankings perspective, you lose to sockeye close game in quarters, and then you smack the rest of the people you play in consolation, and your ranking is like super high. So there's like kind of like a weird, like, I guess it just also goes to show that we only care about nationals, and like all the other stuff before that is just like whatever. Because
I'd be surprised if they canceled U.S. Open or Pro Champs, I suppose, but
Yeah,
because of the ESPN coverage, I don't know. I would be interesting to see them change format. Like maybe a regular season of just a bunch of round robins is the way to go.
that'd be interesting. I mean,
then,
I'll be. No, go ahead.
Oh, maybe you play like a finals, or like top pool finishers play each other or something, just for the heck of it.
yeah, like it doesn't need to be the same like tournament type thing, because like what I'm saying is like just no one. I don't think people really care who wins the tournament.
And less so too. Like the way that machine approached U.S. Open was so weird. I mean, we'll see if it may backfire, but they didn't take it seriously at all. Well, they took it as a building opportunity and just figuring out whatever, which is its
Why?
own.
Like in what ways did they do that? What?
This is at least from what I understand, like because they didn't have Don, they didn't have Soph, they didn't have. Well, Joe's not playing this year. That's official. Goff only played the Mooncatchers game because he just wanted to play against them. But from what I understand, they were just like rotating lines pretty liberally and looking to figure out chemistry and get people play time. I know they had a number of practice players playing. This one little kid was really fucking fast. He's a practice player for them, but he's a burner. Anyway, they, from what I understand, weren't too concerned about results. It was just about getting people reps. It's sort of interesting, and sorry for this long tangent, Brian. It's sort of interesting to me because Machine to me seems like a team that should know themselves pretty well because they've had like the same core for a really long time. So I'm surprised that they would want to do that. But if you even just a few pieces kind of probably makes you want to just see what's possible. And then I wonder if it could backfire because is there now is their confidence shot? Who knows? Because it's like you still have to see. I always say see the ball go through the basket, right? Because they got smoked by some teams that they shouldn't. Like we beat them 15-8.
Wow.
And they just looked demoralized in that game. In other games, they were competitive, though, I think. And they're a bunch of veterans. And like you said, Kins, Nationals is the only thing that matters. Like, they will have Don back, and they will have Soph back, and Goff will presumably be healthy. And just having those three players makes a huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Well, it just makes me think about like the regular season.
Right. I mean, particularly for like the teams that basically know they're going to be at nationals, or essentially are like, they're the top dog in their region. They're like, we're going to be in the top 16 in ranking. It's like, does the US Open, if they have reasonable expectations and they're like, hey, we're not going to win these games, but we're building, does that affect them in any reasonable way? Because it's like, if they still have the same amount of bids to nationals, does it even matter? Versus there's teams that are like trying to get an extra bid for their region and kind of on the cusp. That's a little different.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, there's examples of teams succeeding doing this, like following this model, like Pony in 21. I forget how they finished at nationals, but Oh no, they that was the year that they lost on University Ring, so they did well. But like, I don't know if you remember this. Kansas Pro Champs was in Boulder. Jimmy had a hamstring issue. They were missing a bunch of guys, and Pony just tanked at Pro Champs. Last year, Rhino didn't have anybody at Pro Champs and totally
Right.
sucked. And they were the best team at nationals by far. So it's a model that works. It's just like, as a spectator or fan, it's like, that's kind of a bummer, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just interesting. Because even like when we were talking to Garrett yesterday, we were talking about like having the 1 minute compilation of like winning throws or whatever. And even he was like, the winning throw of like US Open, like
Doesn't really
doesn't
matter.
really carry that much weight. Like no one's like talks about who wins it. So it's just kind of interesting. Like it's still fun to go and get like the good reps against good teams. Like you want to play them, and when you're playing them, it's still fun. But I don't know. I feel like it just. I don't know. I don't really know. Just made me think about it when they canceled the final so quickly.
And they're dealing with this in most sports too nowadays. Like basketball, they're trying to just get people to give a shit about the regular season.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think of all sports, what NFL is probably like the most important.
Totally, because you got to make the playoffs, and that's why I kind of like
16 games.
Yeah, like I think that's why the
Now
UFA
18 this year.
Oh, right. Yeah. What am I talking about?
It's crazy.
It's
I mean, it's too many games to be honest. But
that's why I kind of like the UFA, where it's like each week is important and everything can change so quickly. Like if you lose, you know what I mean? Like you don't have that many games. The games are hard.
You're
if
right.
you lose, like, and it's like exciting each game.
Like we lost to Houston whatever, our second game. And that basically meant we weren't going to host a playoff game. And who knows, like us going to Oakland versus Oakland coming here to Colorado, definitely a difference maker. We got absolutely spanked by Oakland, but it's a lot different when they're at altitude and we're at home.
Definitely. I had another moment this weekend where we were playing Mallard, and it was just like last game of the first day. And they were just awful, and we were just destroying them. And there's no one there, and I'm like, this is just getting tired. Like this is just not, you know what I mean? Like this is not doing it for me anymore. Like we're like, there's a random field. It's like my dad watching, and like a couple other people. It's like at least if you're in the UFA and you're playing a bad team, hopefully there's some people there, and you can like get some oohs and ahs by like doing some fun stuff, or if you like sky them. Like we're just playing this team on like the corner of the field complex. And you came to be like, it's not, and that's why it's better to get better though, because like if you're at a Pro Champs, you're not going to have that game. But I kind of remember having that feeling at Pro Champs last year when we were playing truck stop in like this random part of the field complex.
And we lost that game, right?
Yeah, but you're just like, I don't know, like it's not as like special anymore, and it feels like nothing's on it doesn't feel very like exciting. I don't know. I just. Return to club play had me thinking about that stuff.
It's like playing pickleball on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, that's we'll probably get into some of this, but in terms of sense of urgency, it's like there is a skill to having that sense of urgency no matter where and when you are. But at the same time, it is interesting, like the lack of consequences for some stuff. Like I wonder, it seems like the volume of play in club has decreased in recent years, and I wonder if that'll continue, because like we played the games are to 13, but we played 4 games on Saturday, which is it's ridiculous.
We just played more tournaments back in the day. They weren't all like as serious, but we played way more. I mean, UFA is definitely affecting that, but. Okay, let's turn this back around to heat training though, because PEC was hot. ESC was just canceled. The finals was just canceled for heat. And actually, right before I flew to PEC, where I did not see you, Brian, but I don't know how we keep missing each other. I was in Spain, so I flew straight from U24s, which was even hotter, and most of the games were on turf, so that just like, it's another 10, 15 degrees, at least feels that
At
way.
least, yeah.
And actually, by the time I got to PEC and everybody was complaining about the heat, I was like, this is not that bad, because they were on grass. And I feel like it's, for me, especially after coming from Spain, if it's on grass and you give me a shade tent, like, that's enough recovery. But I think it's because I was acclimated, and like I was doing workouts in Spain as well, which wasn't necessarily heat conditioning. It doubled as that because I just happened to be there. What are your thoughts around acclimation and what you need to do to prepare?
I think it's extremely important, and a lot of people maybe don't give it the same weight as other aspects of training, because if you're playing club, like, you were going to have important games and tournaments in the heat in August. In September is often hot too, in July. So the challenge is, like, there are chemical adaptations, like sweat changes, the composition of your sweat and how many electrolytes you lose can change when you spend time training in the heat. Not to mention just like the mental side of it.
Yeah.
Like, there is something when you're running hard and you're in that heat, and there just is not break from that oppressive heat or humidity. You have to come to get used to that, both mentally and physically. But if you only have the mental and you're like, I can handle it, and then your body shuts down, you're out of luck. So like there's no getting around, like, you need to spend time in that. And so the way I usually recommend people do it, if you're listening, it's not totally too late, but too late to take this strategy, which is as soon as it starts getting warm in the spring, I'm here on the East Coast. So like, March and April, it'll start to get warmer. The sun will come out, and I will try to get out the hottest part of the day that my schedule allows and do conditioning or do speed work. And I continue that as it gets hotter, as we get into summer. So by the time June and July come around and it's 100 degrees and I'm out on turf, it's not stupid, as it would be if, like, you just did that now with no heat acclimation. It's just all part of the natural progression. And then that way, when you're out at a tournament and you're running, it's not a novel stimulus. It's something that your body's ready for.
Yeah. Do you have a sense on how long it takes to condition to the heat?
I usually find like a solid month, I notice significant differences. Like, mentally, you'll definitely notice stuff earlier. So that's definitely a factor. Just getting a little bit more used to the discomfort, for sure. But yeah, that can take a little bit of time. I think like more weeks and months than days. So it's about, as with other adaptations, like consistency over time.
Yeah. Kins is a big sauna guy. How about the sauna? Is that helpful?
I think that is. I don't know if there is research specifically on like sauna usage for heat acclimation, though I wouldn't be surprised if there is. But I mean, it makes sense. Like, you're, giving that stimulus to your body, being in that heat, and I would guess that does something similar. The difference is you're not exerting yourself, but still just being in that environment, everything else remaining equal. If you're in heat more, you're going to be more prepared for it.
I wanted to do some push-ups in the sauna today, but I thought that might be too hard. Though I do the I do the cars in the sauna though.
There you go. Hey, sauna hack: if you're out and it's hot, and you go to your car, instead of turning the AC on, keep the windows up, sit in there, take some deep breaths. Now, please don't just cut that like 10-second clip and have people like passing out in their cars. If you're ready for it. But the funny thing is, like, people will go in the sauna and like, it's all about just like your mentality. You go in a hot car and you sit there and immediately you're like, ready to freak out. Like, I need the AC on, I need the windows down. Meanwhile, you were just like running sprints outside in the heat. So if you think of it like, this is my sauna, I'm going to get in, take some deep breaths for a couple minutes. I'll sometimes actually do that when it's like earlier in the spring or summer and my car gets hotter than it is outside. So I'm like, it's free sauna, I'm going to spend an extra 5 minutes
sauna.
on my drive home. I'm just going to have the AC off and the windows up for like 5 minutes. Again, if you take it out of context, it's not the smartest thing to do. Just like going out on a 100-degree day when you're not acclimated and running sprints is not smart. But if you're used to it, it's just another way to like kind of hack that adaptation a little bit.
Expose yourself.
Exactly.
I'm thinking of something Marshall would say, and I know you're doing some stuff with Marshall. What does he say? Like, treat it as an opportunity or as a challenge.
Exactly.
Instead of like something that sucks.
Right.
Just another opportunity to prepare yourself for the highest level of competition. Don't turn the AC on.
Exactly right. I'm just getting off the sideline, and I'm not going to go in the shade tent.
You know what mostly is for me when I get in the car, though, is touching that steering wheel. Just sears my skin.
There's also, like, if you're in Arizona in the summer, it's different than being in Philly in the summer. It's like there are places where that is legitimately very dangerous. So, use your head.
By the way, I don't think doing push-ups in the sauna is too hard, though.
I support it.
No, just like if there's other dudes in there and I'm like just ripping push-ups out on the floor, it just feels like
I just maybe it's because Tip's a friend of an old Malmberg guy. The stories he tells me about the saunas that he goes to, there's some freaky shit that goes on. The set of 10 push-ups is probably acceptable by those standards.
I'll get there. A little more comfortable.
Okay. Should we shift gears a little bit to like programming in general? Maybe where we are in this club season, or like thoughts around what people should be focusing on.
Yeah.
Unless I'm forgetting anything. Did I tangent away from anything we were in the middle of?
I don't think so.
And by the way, I'm listening. I'm going to go fill up my coffee. I got my AirPods in.
All right. Perfect. Sweet. So for people playing club right now, we're kind of in that last like third of the season. And big things at this point. I talked to Bravo about this last year, but your big thing right now is availability. Like, you want to be ready to play when it matters. And your training should reflect that. So you don't want to be just like adding volume just for the sake of adding volume, like working hard just for the sake. Like, we want to think about, I had some notes here because I wanted to like, make the most of our time, but like, what is your real goal? Your goal is ultimate. It's not lifting. It's not sprinting. It's being ready to play ultimate. So we just want to view our training through that lens as often as possible. But even more so at this stage of the season where we don't want to be wasting energy. So most players obviously are like, have a job or school or, can't devote like their entire life to ultimate, which means we have limited resources and time. So the big things I'm thinking about at this point is maintaining what you have. Like, this is not the time to be building strength unless you have like a gap of time, but most don't, because sectionals for a lot of teams is in like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Or, for some teams, if you're not going to pro champs, you don't have anything till regionals, maybe you have more time, but I'm going to assume like you probably don't have a couple weeks without anything, which means we don't really want to be crushing ourselves in the gym. So like, your strength training is going to be aimed at just like maintaining what you have. You're not trying to break records. Speed, we can work on that. We want to work on that consistently. Conditioning, at this stage, like if you have the time and energy, you can work on it a little more. And this is kind of an overview. We can pick pieces here and talk more about it. But I wanted to give just like a brief overview. So that's really like we're looking at like make sure that you can consistently practice and feel good doing it. Make sure that you can be on the field. Like those are your main priorities. When I hear people spending like several days in the gym doing pretty intense stuff or doing like max effort sprints or conditioning multiple times a week in addition to practices and tournaments, to me, that's like a little bit of a red flag. Like, hey, that's probably a little too much.
Interesting. Bunch of things come to mind. First, I guess because you mentioned like just focuses like as far as getting stronger versus maintaining. Mm-hmm. Is there a danger like okay, Don keeps coming up because he was posting how much he had on the trap bar, and I messaged him and was like, what is it like, was that like 295? And he was like, I think so, but he's a kilograms guy, so he didn't really know. And it's like, so anyway, we just talked about 300 being like, that'd be a nice round number. So he got up to 305. I don't know what he's doing now. Is there anything wrong with that? So he's like a guy that plays year round. He's relatively young, probably still getting stronger as far as like coming into your like athletic prime. Do you have thoughts on that? Like, is it okay to push a little bit, or would you recommend like, hey, don't even add 5-10 pounds?
Yeah. So that context is important. If it's someone who has been consistently lifting for a while, usually there's a couple things that are on. One, they're probably not going to get quite as sore from it because it's not like a new thing. If you've not been regularly lifting with intensity, don't start that right now. So if he's been doing that, that's good. However, the more highly trained you are, when you do those higher efforts, it takes more out of you. Because if you take a beginner and they're doing like a quote unquote max effort, they're not able to use everything they have. Like they might engage 50%. An experienced lifter, if I go, and I've been lifting since I was 13, if I go and do a true max effort deadlift, my nervous system probably won't recover for weeks. I might not know that for sure, but like you can't always fully tell, but that's part of the challenge. Is like you don't notice the drift. But
is it really weeks?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So like that's something where, and we kind of acclimate to it, right? So like people are used to training hard, playing all the time, and you don't notice. So real quick story about this. I used to lift like a maniac at Penn State, and my goal was like the series. I'm like, everything else is training. You know, like my friends would be like, you know, why are you lifting so hard? Like we have a tournament in 2 days. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's training too. It's all training for the series. And that's a little too extreme. And so I was lifting heavy. I was, you know, deadlifting, you know, at that point, close to 500. I was squatting, you know, like 385, and I weighed like 150 pounds. And I remember like, I didn't notice problems. I was just frustrated that my lifts weren't going up more. But that summer, like, you know, a month after the season ended, I was still training some, but I didn't have school. I wasn't lifting to the same degree, or didn't have tournaments, but I was playing summer league, and like my friends came up to me and they were like, you are flying all over the field. You look basically significantly different than I did on the field during the college season. And I didn't notice, but they did. Like that drastic difference that just came from not constant lifting and
exertion,
nervous system overload. So I just want to share that because like I have been there, particularly when I was young, and even when I was older. But in this case, I would say like you can push a little bit, but you don't want to have those efforts too frequently where you are really grinding to like set a new PR with a ton of effort, because it's just going to take resources away from other things. Yeah. And you might not notice right away. That's really the challenge, is like the problem might not arise right away, but at some point it will.
And do you think it's is there a higher risk of injury, or is it mostly just like you're not going to be able to recruit everything that you're capable of?
I think a little bit of both. So like you're probably going to have lower overall output, and like when we're talking about power and speed and acceleration, if you can't engage, if you're 5% less than normal, that's a big difference on the field.
It, so,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask, is it mostly CNS or is it also muscle fatigue? Because I'm thinking about progressive overload, like with bodybuilders, powerlifters, etc. Like the whole strategy is like add a little bit more next week, add a little bit, just a little bit, or maybe one more rep, etc.
Yeah, so there's a couple things going on. So one, if you're strategically doing things, so another thing later in the season, you can focus more on isometrics and concentric versus eccentrics, and that will reduce some of the muscle damage. So, for
That's
example,
right.
if you do a trap bar deadlift and you lift and then just let go or come down really fast so that you're not really working on the way down, you're not eccentrically loading, that is going to be less demand, both on your nervous system and your muscles. So you can strategically still lift heavier with a little less damage. I program a lot of isometrics as well. I did some right before we hopped on the call, because with isometrics, where you're just holding
Yeah,
or pushing against something, it doesn't create the same muscular damage or inflammation, but you still improve strength and you improve like rate of force development, your ability to recruit. Um, so I would recommend doing more of that. And if you are going to lift heavy and try to push some limits, just do it, infrequently. So something I like too is like you can actually improve your strength without ever maxing out. A lot of people have done this where, let's say you could lift a certain weight, like 300 pounds for 3 sets of 5, but you do 3 sets of 3. And then next week you do a set of 3, a set of 4, a set of 3. And then you do 3, 4, 4, and then 4. So you're progressing enough that you're never actually going to failure, but you're still progressing with volume. And that's a good way to continue to improve and progress without stressing your body the same way.
I see. That makes me think of conditioning actually, because I never really think about at least as much like when I'm sprinting, I'm not like it's like try to hit a 200 or a 70 or whatever in this time frame. It's never usually like I mean sometimes I run 40s at like just see how fast I can run it. In fact, I try to do that once a week now,
Mm-hmm.
but um it's very rarely that it's like okay, you did this like whatever 5 sets of 200s, and maybe next week you add a set, or maybe you start slower or something like that. And but for me traditionally conditioning wise it's just like it's more adding volume than trying to be faster.
Right. Yeah, that's a similar idea. Like you're still going to make progress, and you might find that over time you're able to go faster with a similar, like
Amount
perceived
of effort.
effort.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
uh I have question. Kins, were you about to ask something? I wasn't
Well,
sure.
I was gonna, cause yes, I've been going to. I got a lifetime membership, and it's right next to my house, so I've been going every day.
Nice.
And it's nice for recovery because like I can hit the bike, and they have the Normatec bags and the
It is
sauna,
nice.
so I can just like I just rip that the first couple days. But I was there yesterday, and I wanted to do like a workout because it was the first day that I felt good, but I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I like want like consistency. Like if I'm gonna start like doing workouts, like I want to. So that's what led me into my deep dive with Chat GPT last night. And it's funny because a lot of this stuff, I kind of felt like I was just talking to Brian a little bit because it was nice. Like it was like, I tell it that I'm in season, I'm coming back from an MCL, grade 1 MCL. Like I just had a tournament. So we were just like kind of making like a little, like something that I could do. And what we settled on together was like, just like one lower body like day, one upper body day. At the beginning, it starts with just focusing on like some power stuff. So like today I went and it was just like 3 sets of 3 box jumps and then some trap bar. And it suggested like, there's a lot of like self, you've got to put it, like, unless you're adding a bunch of details, you got to put in like your own thought as well. But it was saying like it could go like fairly heavy, but just like less reps, like not doing a lot of reps. Like the sets are like 3 or like 4 of like stuff. So for like the leg parts, like the main part was like the trap bar and then Bulgarian split squats, which I like. And then it finished with Copenhagen planks that are knee supported and core, so the Pavlov press. And I think there was one other. Oh, and single leg RDLs for like just like glutes and stuff, which obviously it's just like a basic thing, but that's kind of like my and everything is like for some of that stuff. For the more accessory stuff, it's like lighter weight and like sets of 6, and then for the trap bar, it was like a little bit heavier, but like a small set of like 4. And then like it's a similar theory for like the upper body day, where it's like some med ball throws and like a plyo push up, and then like a heavier push up, and then like a pull up with like a smaller set and reps, and then I forget what the last things are, but like I think it's like core too, something like that. But so that's kind of what it got, and I was curious what you thought about that stuff, right?
Yeah. Well, there's a big point I was going to bring up when it comes to like specificity, like specific to ultimate versus general. And we want to think about what qualities we are looking to improve. So like a basic program like that is great because your goal is not like, this is not my ultimate practice. This is me training to improve my strength so that I can better practice and play.
Yeah.
So I like a solid basic program where you're doing a couple lower body lifts, maybe a 2-leg lift, a single leg lift, and then an upper body day is great. In some of my programs, I'll give you guys a link that you can share for this episode to a sample program. And the thing to understand with programs is everyone's different, and any written program is not going to be perfect for anybody. And it's going to vary depending on how you're feeling. But one thing I like to do is like have a warm up with some mobility work, have some of that power work early on, and then get into the strength work. And that sounds like that's kind of similar to what was going on there. But what I really like too is relatively low volume. And for the heavier lifts, sub maximal. So you're not maxing out, but that doesn't mean you can't use heavy weight. If you're doing a lift and like you could do 6 reps, but you do sets of 3, you're still working, but you're not getting quite the same muscular damage. It's not quite the same nervous system load, but it's still enough that like you could progress, and you're definitely at the very least maintaining. And that's the goal here. Now, if you had not done any lifting this year, I would be like, maybe we start even less volume. Right. But you're also, it's not like you have a big tournament in 2 days. So
right.
I think that's pretty solid. Like there's an issue, there's like both sides of the spectrum, which we can talk about. But like when people are lifting like power lifters or like football players, or like the lifting becomes the sport and it takes way too much of the energy and resources.
Right.
There's also the other side where people try to make the lifting look like the sport so much that they're not actually training the qualities they want. So like if my goal with a deadlift is to improve, like build muscle, improve my ability to recruit and produce force. And then I can use that when I practice jumping, when I run and cut, when I do my mobility. But if I try to make my deadlift look like something I'm doing on the field, I might lose the reason I'm doing it in the first place. That makes sense.
That one's interesting to me. The try to make it look like the sport so much. It's like I can think of so many videos like, well, here's the motion you do when you throw, or like this is the motion Jack Williams does when he makes a jump cut, or JR or whatever. And so like let's practice this exact same thing. It does like seem like it makes sense a lot of ways, like intuitively, like let's just load it and do it with resistance. But I don't know. Like I can fucking rip a frisbee. Like I am strong because I've been lifting forever. But when I was 150 pounds and 20 years old, like I had no problem throwing 80 yards. And I don't think that was because I was doing this with resistance.
No.
You know,
And
it's like a lot of it's technique too.
It's technique, and it's like strength and power. It's like it is specific, but like you need a certain amount of strength for certain activities, and then you need to learn to translate that into in a meaningful way. I There was a point where I weighed like 150 pounds and I could bench 275, and I
That is
couldn't throw.
absurd, by the way.
I couldn't. My shoulders were not super healthy. Like I still injured my shoulder, right? I could do
Yeah.
tons of pull-ups. I could do extremely heavy rows. That didn't prevent me from getting injured. It didn't allow me to throw further. My potential maybe was a little higher, but in reality, it was lower because my health went down. And that's where like we'll talk more about mobility, but like if you have good mobility, you have good function of your joint. So if my shoulder and my wrist, they rotate well, they're super healthy, that's going to make my ability to actually perform and get better at skills way more efficient and effective. So when I combine smart strength training with good mobility work, then I just go out and practice. And I think that's the big thing. Like rather than trying to break things down, and there's an in between. Like I might do a side lunge with a dumbbell because I want to load that up, but that's not my max strength exercise. That's a accessory. Um, so it's important. Like we need to be healthy enough and able to practice. That's like I'm a better thrower now than I was 10 years ago, not because I'm stronger, because I'm healthier. And I think that's important for people to realize.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's really big. Um, I I don't know what you think about the word physical therapy or PT. And like one thing that I like about your programming is it to me it feels like it has similar focuses. It's like how do you get these little muscles or things that you're not thinking about ready to perform and healthy and mobile, strong under whatever and within range of full range of motion and under tension and um, whereas like when people I feel like when people hear the word physical therapy, like if I say like, hey, I did PT today, or if someone posts in the workout Slack PT, like I did my physical therapy today, I feel like the connotation is that's not a real workout. But I think I feel like that's a bad mindset. What do you think about that?
I totally agree. There's so many ways I could go with this, but there's physical therapy. I'm not a physical therapist. I don't treat people. I don't do like manipulations, anything like that, because I didn't go to PT school. It's different, and it's wildly different what you'll see. There's a place in Philly. I'll shout out More Than Movement. They do great stuff because they have physical therapists on staff who many of whom are also like strength and conditioning people. So it's more of a holistic approach because a lot of physical therapy, people's mindset going into it, but then also what they're taught is like you're working at like way super submaximal loads. You're not challenging yourself that much. A lot of times the goal is just to get the person quote unquote functional. So like, okay, you can walk now or you can jog, but most people, and I say this because I've been training for 15 plus years, and most of my clients are people who went through physical therapy and didn't feel good enough to play. They don't feel
Yeah.
like themselves. So a lot of people leave without a clear plan, or they don't know how to progress. And I went through physical therapy so many times. So the mindset with that is it's just you're just training different things. So with mobility, for example, which a lot of it overlaps, like if I have a tendon that's not feeling good and I'm loading it up with isometrics that are gentle at first and then get harder as I get healthier and feel better, like at what point is it strength training versus physical therapy? It's all
Right.
it's all a continuum. So I totally agree that like if you whatever we're doing, we can be and should be challenging ourselves within reason. Um, so yeah, if you're doing something and it's just like extraordinarily easy, you can probably be progressing it.
Um, so the issues that I'm dealing with, I've had like Achilles issues. That's getting much better, especially uh, not just with the training, but finding proper footwear. Um, by the way,
Mhm.
am I lagging? My computer's kind of going crazy right now.
Now you
I
sound
don't
good.
think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I'll keep talking. The latest thing, which is not actually new, but I feel it right now, is it's kind of like my entire right chain from like the low back to the knee is just, it's not even painful. It just feels weird. And it's not like, maybe tight is the right word, but it's like, I can just feel like it feels weak and unstable. And all the I like from previous PT appointments, I know that my glute med is very weak, especially on the right side. And like all the little exercises that I do for it, it's almost like an immediate relief. Like I feel more balanced right away. Um, but it's like I feel like this is the type of thing that if I let it go, I'm like 100% sure I would get injured. Like if I was just running on this imbalance, I cleated up on Sunday because we were low numbers, and I was hesitant to because I knew I had this imbalance. I made it out fine, but in the past, like I've come out of days like that where it's like, I knew I shouldn't have played because of these little twingy things. But then like as soon as you focus on like that, does it makes such a big difference. Like when I get that glute med firing and stronger, then all of a sudden like my IT band is not pulling on my knee as much, so like I don't have knee pain, and like I have some patella tendonitis on that side as well, which I mean I am also not a PT, but it seems like the knee pain subsides a little bit even when I'm not focusing strictly on like PT for that area. That's a really long-winded way of me just trying to endorse. I think like that specific type of focus on like the things that it's like, it's not the big muscles. It's not like the things that's like my glute med is probably not the reason why I can front squat whatever 250 or whatever. Like it probably helps,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not like when I squat heavy, like that's not really what I'm focusing on.
Right, right, and yeah, it was there more
No, go
there.
ahead.
Um, yeah, and there's a few things there. Like I working on your specific priorities is huge, and the thing is, like, if you said, "Hey, I'm experiencing like this knee pain or IT or whatever," like there is no like algorithm for the body where I'm like, "Ooh, okay, you have this. Okay, it must be that." However, your experience is huge, and what you experience, like when you work on the glute med and things feel better, like that's instructive and that's valid. And I think that we don't want to fit ourselves into a box when it comes to training and exactly what works, because the same stuff doesn't work for everybody. And pain is super subjective and extremely complicated. So like structurally, we could look exactly the same and have wildly different sensations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, there was this movement in fitness, like functional and anti-functional, and like where, for example, like a bicep curl, that's not functional. Why are people doing that? Or like that doesn't translate to sports. That because back to like it doesn't look like how we play. Okay, but it strengthens my elbow. It makes my elbow flex better, and it strengthens my bicep and my forearm, and I use that for other things. Yeah, I'm not going to sit down and do like a lift off in the game, but my glute med uses that and to improve. So like similar to like some of the 90-90 stuff, it's like I'm getting into this awkward position to improve how my hip rotates. And when my hip rotates slightly better, everything around it functions better. And when I go out on the field, I now have more access and more options. But someone could look at the 90-90 and be like, why are you doing that? You would never do that on the field. What's the point? So breaking things down into components can be very valuable, like you said.
So I really like the isometrics, and you talk about them. If you're gonna decide a couple to, like, I want to pick a few to, add into my weekly routine. Like, I want to do like we were saying, like a couple workouts each week, because you have maybe practice once a week, and then we'll have a tournament, whatever. What do you like? How would you advise someone to like on which isometrics to pick? essentially.
Oh, I
That's-
have a favorite, but I want Brian to go first.
I think I might know it, but that's a great question. I'm actually writing a note. I'm doing a nice free webinar this Sunday, so I'm taking all the questions. So couple things are like, I think about, what is most stressed when I play. That's one question. And then where have I been injured in the past, or where is currently like sore or doesn't feel awesome? So personally, here's how I think about it. It's like, okay, going into this season, I knew like if there's a reason I can't be on the field or playing how I want, it's probably my knee or Achilles. So I started doing knee and Achilles isometrics every morning and every evening. So that's a good place to start. And like currently, Alex, like you're dealing with some knee stuff. So either knee flexion, knee rotation isometrics, even something kind of like the Copenhagen. You don't have to lift up your body, but just like pushing your leg down so that the inside of the leg gets that.
Yeah, I was
stimulus.
doing that when I was doing the Copenhagen today, and it felt good. So the knee flexion is that when you're like
is bending? That's bending. So like if you were to kneel on the ground and kind of sit on your heels.
Oh, like that one where you're pulling.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the one I do every morning, every night. And it is, I'll be 38 in a month, and I'm playing Masters and Club this year. And I did not think that was going to be possible. And
so that's the one where you're in a hero pose and you grab
like your ankles or your shins and push.
Yeah, I'm gonna add that one. And I like the Achilles one. Is that like the one like where you do like where you get like on
a wedge or So for people listening, if you think about getting a calf stretch, and then in the stretch, without allowing yourself to move, you push down through the ball of the foot and feel like you're trying to push your foot through the floor. You will feel tension in your calf, maybe in your Achilles. And what you can do is allow your knee to bend first. So if you kind of have your foot down and you rock your knee forward, you might feel it more in your Achilles. And the goal is with these isometrics, we don't want pain, but we want to feel tension. And you start at a low intensity, gradually build up to start with 30, 40, 50% of your max effort, which you might not know what that is at first. And just think like, I'm not working as hard as I can. I could sustain this for 20 or 30 seconds. Over time, you can then build up. But a really good like maintenance thing for your tendons and your joints is 20 to 30 seconds of like 40 to 60% of your max effort. So 20 to 30 seconds, medium effort, 2 to 3 sets twice a day. And for some people are like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to sit but it's like 2 or 3, 4 minutes maybe. And over the course of months, you can see big differences in pain, inflammation.
Yeah, it's that consistency piece. I get frustrated with people, because they're not consistent, and even thinking about going back earlier in the conversation when we're like kind of encouraging people to do less basically in season. Like you don't need to do the extra conditioning, you don't need to lift heavier, you don't need to do the extra speed workout. But my usual gripe is, like, you didn't put enough work in 6 months ago. You didn't develop the habit, and you're injured now because you set yourself up this way, or you're not in good enough shape now. And it frustrates me, I think, for a lot of reasons. One, I think I am a bit of a hardo, and then I like, as a coach, like I can't, like I just want you to be at your best, and it's like it's probably more than that too. It's just like I can't stand people who have these God-given talents, these natural abilities, and then they just kind of coast on that. And maybe it's a jealousy thing. Actually, I'll do a little therapy session for myself. Because I didn't have these things naturally. I had to really work hard for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Couple quick notes. I'm in my wife's office and she's a therapist. But totally, like I was naturally pretty fast and explosive. However, I always worked at it. Like to a fault.
Interesting.
And that's one of the problems I ran into, is that I just thought, you know what, if I just outwork everyone, how can I possibly lose?
Be stuck. No one can stop you.
That's right. I went too far. However, like it is helpful to connect the effort to some of the results. We can't control everything, But now, like I try to tell people, because you will see influencers, you'll see people touting certain things and they're fit and they're healthy and whatever. Um, I I had chronic pain starting when I was like 16 or 17 and have had injuries like throughout my college career and even club. I basically played as much as I sat on the sidelines because of injuries. So like the fact that I am where I am able to play at this point and still be like effective is not because of genetics. It's because of the stuff that I do. So I try to impart that upon people to bring them hope, and especially young people who are like one of the things I appreciate about Alex is like he committed to this stuff, even as like a young guy who's like in shape and like you've dealt with some injuries, but like a lot of people in your position would just be like, why am I doing this shit? You know, I want to lift heavy. And the thing is like, whatever you want to do, the focus on the mobility, the isometrics, et cetera, are just going to make you better able to do that. And Mike, your frustration is so valid because I mean, people don't know, they don't understand always, but you can't get by on the maintenance if you're not putting in the work ahead of time. It's like, oh, you want to maintain strength, but you never actually train strength. Well, what are you maintaining? You want to maintain your speed and power, but like you didn't work on it in the off season. So like that's why people are playing catch up during the season when it comes to health and strength and power. And it's like if you're playing a lot, it's going to be really hard to build those skills up without burning out.
And I think these people also tend to see every setback as like, well, that means whatever I was doing does not work. Like you can, like injuries are still going to happen. Kins got hurt 8 weeks ago or whatever it was. He is playing now, and that is probably in like a testament to the work that he puts in. Like freak shit is still going to happen. There's no way, no matter how good any program is, that you're going to just be able to avoid every single injury.
That is such an important lesson. Like you can be doing the wrong stuff and make progress. And people learn that lesson, unfortunately, and then think like, this is just what I have to do, or this worked when I was 20. Why doesn't it work now? You can also be doing the right stuff, or, you know, take a smart approach and get injured. We're playing a sport. Injuries and pain are inevitable, but no matter what we're doing in training, the way we respond is huge. You know, for me, it's like every time I get an injury or a setback, there's frustration, but every single time, like this is an opportunity to prove what I can do with this training, to prove how much this works. But if it's understandable that like for a lot of ultimate players, you know, it's a big part of your identity and it's an attack on that when you get injured and can't express that. But you know, if you're listening, there is hope, like, and it doesn't take completely overhauling your life. It really takes consistency and kind of trusting what you're doing. Like the isometrics, I created this Achilles pain protocol that I've had people doing, and it's not exciting. Like I will be the first to say it's not exciting, but it allows you to do exciting things. If you can commit to a few minutes per day, working on your specific priorities, great. And I'm kind of going off here, but when it comes to training and rehab, so there, I had a teammate who had a hamstring injury at Masters, and he was doing PT, and you know they had him doing some strength stuff. So his PT for his hammy was like RDLs, squats, lunges, stuff like that, which is great. Like you're building strength, you're using your hamstring, but the exercises don't know what your hamstring needs. If you go and do a squat or an RDL, it doesn't necessarily mean it's training the spot that you need to. You had some of your hamstring that was strained, and now you need to put force into that to help it recover. And your body before was probably already compensating, and now you're doing that. So it's not necessarily bad. It's just like, and Mike, I know you've done the hamstring isometrics. So you stretch your hamstring. I had a feeling that was it. And then you get your hamstring up on a bench, rotate your body, rotate your thigh until you find that you're actually loading up the specific area or around the area that was injured. And that way you can be so much more specific. It's still strength training. It's just very, very specific strength training. The same rules apply with progressive overload and everything like that.
Are you looking for an ultimate specific training program? Try Brian Nevison's Ultimate Mobility membership. He offers ultimate specific training, customized feedback on your form, weekly live check-ins, full in-season, preseason, and off-season programs, and you can help support the pod by using our referral link in the description below.
Hey dingus, stop using your grandma's cleats held together with athletic tape and step into a fresh pair of Tokais, specifically designed for ultimate frisbee. And while you're at it, support your favorite idiot podcasters using our referral link, tokai-ultimate.com/podpractice.
Over here at Pod Practice, we are excited to announce that we are partnering with Greatest Bag to provide you with all of your ultimate bag needs. If you're looking to get a new ultimate bag, head on over to greatestbag.com. And if you use code PODPRACTICE10, you will receive 10% off your purchase.
Can I ask about speed versus conditioning as as personal advice and maybe an anecdotal?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, I know you also follow Fred Duncan.
Yeah.
I actually got his speed kills thing that he's selling. I have my own. I read training research for fun. I follow a lot of professional trainers as well. I like to incorporate what they do along with what I do, and kind of I'm always trying to learn more. And one thing that stood out was the recovery times. Even though I program in longer recovery times than a lot of people, his were even more. And it just reminds you that speed is a very intense skill that you need everything you have. If your goal is to push your speed, like it would be to push your limits with a deadlift, you really need everything firing. And if you are even a little bit fatigued, you're not going to be able to do that. So with Ultimate, yes, when we are playing, we're going to be fatigued. We're not going to have perfect conditions. However, if we build up our top speed, then anytime we're on the field, we can work at lower intensities. If my top speed is 25 miles an hour, then I can work at 20 miles an hour and still smoke everybody without working my hardest. So the point I'm making is when I say you need to rest for your speed work, and people are like, well, I don't get to rest on the field. It's yeah, but you're trying to build up your speed, just like you're trying to build up your strength. So for example, if you're doing top end speed work, maybe 50 to 80 yards, so you're getting to absolute top speed and then you're sustaining it for a little bit, that's something where you might need, I think Fred has something like 8+ minutes of rest between sets.
It's a tough one to grasp with mentally. Waiting to go again is difficult. Sam Van Dusen, who you may know because he's a pit guy, he is in great shape and he runs a lot of 200s. But he doesn't do as much change of direction stuff or just full speed stuff. And one of the things he's really wrestling with is Quinn and I are trying to convince him, you're not going to feel the same kind of tired, but it's okay. And he's just okay, I'm going to try, but it just seems so wrong. If you're not gasping for air, that what am I actually doing?
We're often our own worst enemy with that stuff. And Kins and I got out last week with Ezra working on some speed, and we didn't rest as long as I just mentioned, but it was longer, probably twice as long as usual. And yeah, you're sitting there and you're all right, it's a good time to get in some mobility work, do some ankle cars, some hip cars, just to keep yourself loose and ready. But it's a total mindset shift. Your goal, you have to remember, like I said earlier on, what is your goal? My goal is to at least maintain or improve my speed, not to get tired. And if you're doing hard sprints at max velocity, there will be some temporary fatigue, but it's kind of like with the max deadlift where your nervous system might not recover for 2 weeks, but you don't totally feel a lot of people they might wake up next couple days and feel kind of gassed. but then they won't feel it. Same with like a sprint. You finish a sprint, and for like a minute, maybe you're feeling kind of tired, and then, you know, sometime 3 minutes later, you're like, all right, I'm ready.
My question around it that's specific to me, probably true for most people. Like when I run 40s, for instance, I try to just make sure I'm like kind of near the same amount of time. So I have a 5-second timer. I'm almost 42. So like I'm not gonna get faster, really. At least this is my perception, and we've talked about this a little bit. And if I basically I need to be crossing the finish line as it's beeping, but that's like how I'm measuring my consistency, at least. If like I don't drop speed, at least I can't tell that I am. Okay, let me try to ask this a more clear way. Like I'm not necessarily getting, my top speed is not increasing, but maybe like what are some measurables? Like is it the fact like it's easier to do that and I just don't realize that?
It could be. So it's helpful, I think, to have objective and subjective. So like if you feel good and you feel less fatigued, like that's valuable. The timing is helpful. So what I do is I will film myself, and then I can just scroll and go to like my first movement and scroll right till when I'll have it set up so I can kind of see like when my toe crosses like the, you know, wherever the cone or the line is, because then you can get into the hundredths of a second doing that, versus it's really hard for a short thing. Even if someone's timing you, they're not going to be perfect. So that's a good way to do it. And if your speed starts going down, or time goes up, right? You take longer, then you're done. If you feel great, maybe you try another one and maybe it was a fluke. But basically, if you're going for speed, for true speed workout, you want to be either getting faster or maintaining. So over time, there's a lot that goes into this. But Mike, for what you're doing, I would say if you're basically just trying to be consistent, maybe not push absolute max speed, then there's some more leeway because you're not necessarily spending a ton of time at max velocity. If you're running,
I've told you this too. Like I would love to get my 40 to below 5 seconds. You know, at my age, I would be so stoked about that.
And some of that is if you continue to like maintain strength, maybe slightly build strength, but it sounds like it's pretty solid right now, then it may be just more high intensity, max velocity speed sessions, which realistically is going to happen more in the off season. So that's another thing I wanted to be clear with the speed is like some of the speed stuff. Like when I'm looking at the speed program from this other trainer and the stuff that track athletes do, we like what's really key is like that is their sport. Their entire sport is sprinting. So their approach is going to be different. Like we don't have the luxury of just being like, I'm going to work on only speed for the next 8 weeks. We have to juggle practice or league or tournaments. So I don't think it's reasonable for a lot of players to like rest for 8 to 10 minutes between sprints, particularly if like you get off work and you have like an hour. I think it's good to do sometimes so that you get some of that. But with
we
the
doing
speed,
that tomorrow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, me and kids, we're gonna do it. And honestly, like when I was with you guys, I was more disciplined too, because as much as I know it, I still get into like, I'm gonna do my self fetch. I'm gonna chase the disc. I'm gonna like, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, Mikey, if you could get faster. I would just say like, you in a perfect world, right? Setup, you want at least 2 speed sessions a week. Okay. The way I like to do this is have one that's more of an acceleration focus. So like shorter distances, focusing on that first few really powerful steps. Maybe you're doing 15, 20 yards sprint starts. And then you might have one that's longer, like 40 to 80 yards, where you are hitting top speed and then sustaining it for 20. Or you're doing flying sprints. So you're building up and then focusing on 20 yards of top speed. So that way you're accumulating some volume at top speed, but you're also improving your acceleration.
Okay, I love that. Shoot, where was my brain going? I know. I have a question about the conditioning component as well. I
Yeah.
feel like there was another speed question in there, but I'm forgetting what it was. Like some of my measures, right? I when I work out with other people, it's usually not my teammates. It's usually Bravo guys, and my baseline was always probably worse than theirs. Even when I was young, I wasn't going to keep up with them on the track. Maybe some of this like agility stuff, but when like we do 200s, for instance, I just can't keep up. But like I'm sure part of it is my age, but I think a large part of it is just what my athletic level is and what my weaknesses are. So maybe the question is, how do you have advice on like identifying what's most important for you to work on? Like I think Alex Piper, Alex, he's done some of your stuff. We've been joking because I keep giving him a hard time on like, Alex, I think you should focus more on speed than your conditioning because he's got great conditioning.
Right.
So I'm using him as an example because he will crush me on the 200s, but I can basically keep up with him even at my age on like 40s. And focusing on myself here, like, do you have a sense of like what should I work on then? I'm very fast for my division. I am also pretty well conditioned, but I think that I would love to be able to keep up with these guys on the 200s. Is that something that I should work on? Like, how do you identify speed versus conditioning on a what I should be focusing on?
I think some of it is subjective. Some of it is the feel. Like with the 200, is it you're able to get up to top speed pretty quickly, but then either it's the top speed isn't fast enough, or you fatigue and can't sustain the top speed. I don't know if you have a sense of like which one that is.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, because I feel like I like using Piper as a baseline. Like, I think I can keep up with him, my max speed, but it drops off. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. He's definitely a different type of athlete.
Do you guys race? Like, are you doing them at the same time or just timing it?
Like if we're doing the 200s, I start when everybody else starts, and I know like I can't keep up with it, and I know his times.
Do you start next to each other?
No, but
like
I
you got to
do
race
that, like,
and then see like where you're at.
Well, I know physically I cannot do it over that distance. I know physically I can over a shorter distance. Whereas, like, honestly, like I ran some 70s after practice with Plow, and those were just like tempos. Like we weren't trying to go all out, but
right.
Even what my perceived 80%, I'm probably 5 yards behind him by the end of it. Like, he's just faster than me. There's like no question. He has, as Kins knows, like that guy can just run through any amount of pain.
That's valuable. That I think so. I would experiment a little bit. Like I think working on some of the max velocity, I would see how that feels doing like a 60 to 80 yard thing, or doing like the flying sprints. So you're just like, maybe not all at once, but over the course of a session, you're accumulating a little bit more volume of max velocity, because some of it might be like, if you're really solid running 40s, a lot of that is acceleration, and then you're maybe getting to top speed for some of it. Or if your top speed isn't quite as fast, then maybe you hit top speed pretty quickly. But either way, you're probably not used to sustaining top speed for very long. And I think like I'm a little bit similar in that, like, my big strength, like my top speed's pretty fast, but my biggest strength is acceleration and that initial. So you can work on the top speed. If you want to work on 200s, you can. Something I've focused on sometimes with 200s and I acknowledge like, hey, this is somewhat fatiguing. This is not perfect speed work, but basically using the first 100 as a build up. And then I'm like, how well can I sustain my form and my speed on that straightaway? Like if you're going around
That's
the curve
too.
for the first 100 and then you hit the straightaway, and it's like, how can I feel like relaxed in my face and arms, maintain my speed without losing any?
Yeah,
Because Piper's got those long legs.
Yeah,
like he's
we get into
cruising
that.
at a speed that's tough for you to maintain.
Right. We're skirting the line of it, now it's a different sport. Like it's
Right.
focusing on the track strength. Like
Exactly.
because I probably do try to keep up with them right away, and then I just start slowing down, and he can just kind of maintain. Whereas like if it was a shorter distance, it's okay for me to just blast out of the gate.
Right. Oh, and so I think you nailed it with like thinking of it a different sport. So like, if it's a goal, and it's totally fine if it is, like you want to beat these guys or compete in the 200, that's awesome. I don't think it's necessary to be better at ultimate, because like you can still run 200s and get a conditioning effect. You can run 70s or 100s and get a good conditioning effect. But ultimately, like if you have great acceleration and good top speed, I'd rather have that than just be like a good 200 runner.
Yeah.
Like they're both going to help you, but it's not like, oh, if I'm a good 200 runner, I'm fine with ultimate.
Yeah.
It's hard to get that acceleration. Like honestly, conditioning sucks, and it hurts. It requires pain tolerance. It's easier I think it's easier than improving your acceleration and your speed.
Definitely.
Interesting.
It takes a little more time, but it's like you don't need the same focus.
Yeah, and then like, I'm also comparing myself to Grant, who's a freak, and he has both. He can accelerate really fast, and he can run forever. And so like a funny story, a teammate texted me maybe a week ago, one of my Grandmasters teammate. He's like, thinking about trying out for Bravo next year. Are you in? And I was like, kind of, like, that sounds fun. But at this point, my role is completely different. I wouldn't do that. But it did get me thinking, physically, what baselines would I need to be hitting for me to feel like my impact is greater on the field than off the field? Because there are times when I really do play with this idea, because I miss playing more. I also sometimes when I'm out there, I'm like, I hate this. But it's an interesting thought experiment. Like for me to be effective at my age on an elite field, I could tell you right now, I would be serviceable. I could play a role on a nationals level team. I'm not going to be making a huge impact in bracket play for sure, but like just from a skill standpoint and knowing how to play, I'd be okay.
Yeah.
But like the thought experiment of trying to like, what could I do to physically prepare that I actually feel like I'm effective?
I mean, I would definitely similar to what I did this year. I'm a little younger, but like, let me shore up the areas I know cause me trouble, like hamstrings. As we get older and we're trying to be powerful, like Achilles, like I would hammer those isos, and I would reinforce the acceleration. Because like top end speed, there's that's going to be tough to improve, but you can still work on it. But like getting that great acceleration, that ability to accelerate and be fast for 30, 40 yards, if you can maintain that or bump that up a bit while you have your skill set, that's solid. Because I think that's why I believe the reason that a lot of players, as they reach master's age and older, or sometimes even like late 20s, and they can't hang anymore, it's because they lose some of that power. The ability to change direction and accelerate quickly. Because if you rely on that and you start losing it, you're in trouble. It's going to be hard. And injuries, of course.
Yeah, injuries. Cool. Well, it's definitely motivating me to get out and put some cleats on today because it sounds fun.
Dude, once you have that expectation, it is fun because it's like I don't have to worry about fatigue. Like literally all I have to worry about is just going as hard as I possibly can. And I know next time I'll be able to do it again. So if you go in with that expectation, it is kind of fun.
Kind of put the carrot out.
Yeah.
Chase.
Then you can throw the self fetch reps in, and you can, so with acceleration specifically, you can do a little bit more volume, and probably a little less rest. So if you're doing reps, like I'll do my self fetch, I'll step out, I'll throw a disc, and I'll chase it for like 20, 25 yards. I'm probably not hitting max speed there. The big focus is acceleration. Or if you're just doing a sprint start, you're starting and then you go 15 yards as fast as you can. You're not working on top speed, max velocity. It's not going to be quite the same stress on your body, on your nervous system. So you can do those with a little less rest. I might do 1 to 2 minutes rest, and you can do, 8, 10, 12 reps and you'll probably be fine versus I would not do that many 40s or 70s if you're working on top speed.
Got it.
What about like deceleration?
Ooh.
Great question.
I have eccentrics written down for that. Go ahead.
So with deceleration, that's one of the things where I'll tell people in season, particularly if they are doing a lot of volume, to have days where they intentionally reduce deceleration. So for example, you're running tempos, like say you're running 10 or 12 70s, not maximal effort. You're just working on like good form. You're not getting super exhausted. What I'll tell people to do is as you finish the 70, just like very slowly decelerate, and kind of curve around versus stopping, just to reduce the stress on your joints, because that's where a lot of the stress comes in. If you're intentionally working on it, I like to start working on that when you're fresh, because that's another one where like people will work on change of direction, deceleration to exhaustion, which like without first getting good at it, So when you're decelerating or going to change direction, you want to get low. Typically you want to drop your chest, but not like fold over. You want to drop your hips and you want a wider base. So I do this like lateral planting drill that I really like for working on some of the deceleration. I really like actually forward and back pivots. So if you're sort of like in a low lunge or low squat, you step forward, you step backwards, you keep your chest and weight forward the entire time. So you step forward, step back, and then you start gradually getting more powerful. So you are stopping and propelling yourself back, catching with that same leg, propelling yourself forward. I have some of this actually in the sample program I'm going to give you guys to share. But I love that to get reps at high intensities, because I think some of the challenge that people do is like they don't ease into the deceleration or work on it enough. So like you want to start not max speed. Focus on working on getting low, on getting solid deceleration, getting a good base, then work on higher intensity. Then once you have that really well ingrained, then work on like cutting conditioning drills where you're doing it under fatigue. Otherwise, like I see people all the time reinforcing like terrible deceleration and cutting because they're exhausted doing conditioning drills. And like when I see that, I'm like, often will tell athletes, like, if you focus on anything, I want you to focus on having a really sharp cut. I don't care how tired you are. I don't care if you're not running full speed. Focus on the cut, because that's going to make the biggest difference.
Two things came to mind about deceleration. The first one, actually, the exercise that you were mentioning, like the low lunge and going back and forth. There's this person that I've mentioned before she's a doctor. Let's see, I'm reading doctor, founder and creator. Well, anyway, she specializes in foot health. She's based in Lakewood, which is like 20 minutes away from me, and founded this company called Gait Happens, GAIT.
Oh, Courtney Conley.
Yeah, Courtney Conley.
I know her. Yeah, she's awesome.
Have you ever met her?
I've actually years ago in like 2018, I think I did a gait analysis with her. I hired her to
Oh,
do that,
really?
and I actually sent a client to her. Yeah, I've been following her since before she even changed her Instagram handle to Gate Happens. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Like, yeah, she's been featured on some big podcasts like Peter Attia's and The Diary of a CEO, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But she recently posted something on Achilles. I think it was focused on Achilles, or maybe it was soleus stuff. But it was like similar things things that you and I have talked about, that I've talked about with my physical therapist. But there's like this exercise where basically you shift your weight forward on like your front foot and really focus on like driving between like the big toe and whatever first toe, and then just
Yeah.
roll over. Um, because I mentioned this because like focusing on things like that have made such a huge difference in really muscle recruitment in my feet, and then it's just made my calves and my Achilles pain so much more tolerable. It's still not completely vanished, especially in the morning, but like once it warms up, it's like I don't even notice it.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that came to mind. Courtney Conley. I do think she's really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's great.
And the second thing, on deceleration, I can't find this post, and I actually wonder if it's even fully legit and how well studied it is. But someone was talking about eccentrics, not just in terms of like focusing on deceleration, because I mean that's sort of intuitive to me, right? Like when you're decelerating, you're coming to a stop, and so like when you're eccentrically loading, like I don't know, a single leg squat, it's very similar to like stopping.
Right.
What I saw in one of these fitness guys, I don't think it was Fred Duncan, because I think I would have cataloged it better. It was someone that I put him in a similar category, maybe not as quite as reputable, but the study basically says that eccentrics have had like a stronger correlation in this study to overall athleticism, or maybe it was speed. I think it was specifically speed, and that like there's like this perception that concentrics, and you were kind of talking about this earlier, like the difference between concentrics, isos, and eccentrics as a focus. Like intuitively, it seems like concentric focused, like trap bar pulls or whatever, seems to make sense. Like that would translate well to me, just to recruit my muscles and jump really high, or like start really fast. But apparently this study showed that focusing on the eccentric portion of a lift, or like people who are stronger eccentrically, so it's not necessarily like the exercise itself, but people who are stronger eccentrically tend to do like everything that's explosive and decelerating or accelerating. It correlates more. Have you ever heard that?
I haven't specifically heard that I can remember. Some of it makes sense, and I think it's notable that it's not necessarily a direct effect, but a correlation. So for example, it's like chicken or the egg. For example, if I can jump really high, then every time I jump, when I land, I am dealing with higher eccentric forces. So I am naturally going to acclimate. I'm going to get stronger eccentrically just as a product of being able to jump high. So it may not be that the eccentric strength creates the ability to be explosive. It may be a byproduct. However, there's also when you go to jump, when you wind up and load, you are very quickly eccentrically loading. And you have the elastic stretch shortening cycle. So you're eccentrically loading and then going. So I think in both directions, it makes sense, but it doesn't necessarily mean that like putting a huge emphasis on eccentric training will make you more explosive. I do think it plays a role for sure. Like we are stronger eccentrically. So like if you have weight on a bar to do a back squat, you're going to be able to lower slowly under control with more weight than you could lift up.
I see. Yeah.
So eccentrics can be a good method for improving our strength, which can translate to power. True eccentrics, where you're essentially like failing as you lower, or where you're lifting more than like they have the things that hook on the bar and then they release when they get low enough.
Bought some of those.
Those are sweet. But that is an example of something I would not do in season because eccentrics, huge nervous system and muscle load.
Like you'll inflame them more.
Exactly. Which in the right context can be great, but if you're in the middle of a season, you don't want that.
This got me hyped for the off season.
Yeah.
Dude, off season's gonna be lit.
Season's gonna be lit. All I'm working on is the agility, dude. Like all these little people, I'm just so jealous of them. Like, dude, like playing with some of these people, like playing with like the Grossbergs, like the way they like stop, like running like a little semicircle around someone. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's
bro?
not something you
Dude.
do.
No, I can't do that. Like, it's
but
just impossible.
You've gotten better. So the thing is, like, you may not be structurally, in the position to be at their potential, but that doesn't mean you can't improve. So like your acceleration is improved from getting lower, from being better there. And a big point that I always try to make with mobility is when your components work better, the other stuff is so much easier. You have more options. Like if your hip rotates better, if your ankle flexes better, it's easier to get lower. Like when you try to accelerate, we want a forward lean and we want to drive force horizontally and pushing back. And so if you're listening, like it's hard to visualize this, but you want to be able to bend your foot and drop your knee down. And if your ankle and foot don't bend that way, just practicing isn't enough. So that's where the mobility is so important because we need to actually create the ability to move certain ways, build strength there so that we can then safely and effectively practice. Because like I've worked with people and I see their ankle, I'm like, your ankle doesn't move enough to even be practicing this, which means there's going to be compensation and you're just putting in a bunch of energy that's just not providing anything for you.
That's all I'm working on this off season. Starting, stopping,
dude.
Little
it's
changes.
your greatest strength, Kins, that your ability to be really good laterally in the handler space and also just being a big dude and being able to go downfield. That versatility is what makes you so good.
Yeah, I think you sell yourself short a little bit because you're looking at these other guys.
I need it, bro. Like it's insane how quick. I think it was either Adam or Sam made this one cut during the weekend where like they started to go up line, stopped. The defender was like a little bit in front of them, and then they just kind of like started again and like ran around them, like all so quickly. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what the fuck?
I know, man.
Like if I tried to do that, I would look so silly. Well, like it would just not look as cool. It was just insane because it was like a start, stop. But then even the start again wasn't just like straight. It was like this little like kind of like curve thing around them, and I was like, "Wow, that was insane!"
It's so like watching Kuhlman's little feet just like dance around. Like the amount of times he can hit the ground.
Yeah, I really want to work on that as like a bigger dude because that's all.
Yeah,
I think it's so useful for Ultimate because I also like the other thing that I noticed from watching the film is like. I just want to stay moving more and like the cuts where you're just like kind of going at someone a little bit and then you kind of like curve around them, whatever, like pick your way to go. I just think it's very, very common movement in Ultimate as like to getting open and
and like as a defensive player, like when the offense, I mean, it sounds obvious, but like when they're not moving as much, even if they move fast and cut sharply, like if you're constantly moving, it's hard to get your bearings. If I can set up with a wide stance and get my chest in front of you and also find the disc, like that's exactly where I want to be. Even if you're not cutting, if you keep yourself moving, so if you have the fitness and the agility to be moving around and navigating the field constantly, like that makes
Yes.
it so much harder.
Yeah, there were a couple times where when we were playing sockeye, the kid Diamond from Western Washington, who played really well, a couple times where he was on me that it was like a dead disc situation, and I did against other people who weren't setting up as close. It was like, okay, I can just stand here and then run deep, and it's like a good spot. But he was setting up a lot closer, and it just made me realize like how and like the timing is an important piece to work on it too. But like just got to start moving a little bit, because I think where I'll never be like as quick at accelerating, decelerating, and stuff as like some of the smaller guys. Like my advantage though is like he would set up just like right in front of me, which a lot of people maybe will tell you even not to do, but like he would just set up right up in front of me even and just sprint with me. But if you just like move a little bit and they have to like even just like start moving at them a little bit and they have to pick one side of you to be on, because they can't just backpedal in front of you because they would just like fall over. But then like once you start going, if you're a bigger person, like if they're behind you, like they can't get around you. So even if they are like faster, if you just like make your cut and you have good chemistry and like your thrower knows that, like they can't get around you. Even if they can accelerate a little bit faster, they're not going to accelerate all the way around you and able to get a line on the disc because you're just in front of them. So that's the plus side of being bigger.
It is. And from a like defensive or wherever standpoint, like I had times where, this past weekend, I'm down wide and my player's kind of coming up the field. It's like, he's a cutter in the host stack on the far side or a third handler or whatever. And like getting involved occasionally, but like going up the field. And I'm just like basically down low, wide, shuffling with him in his face the entire time. And it's inefficient and it burns a lot of energy and it requires you to like have your ankles and your quads on the whole time. But like that makes it so much harder for them. And I'm ready the entire time. And what's nuts is like watching early rounds in nationals and big tournaments and seeing people not do like standing freaking straight up on defense and not putting in that kind of effort. And I think some of it comes from not having like the confidence that like I can do this for the whole point. I think some of it is like a fatigue thing and also just like not being comfortable low. And like I spend so much of my training in that position, lots of ankle flexion, lots of knee flexion, low and wide, so that I'm like, I can be here all day. It's not going to feel good, and I think more people have to have that mindset in their training.
All right, today when I go work out, I'm going to be crouched over running sprints.
Just
the whole time.
Dude, I do in warm-ups. We did this, I think last week, like low wide shuffles, like super low, and then doing the 45-degree pivots in low wide shuffles. And I think like committing to that, it looks ridiculous because a lot of players just don't do it, but you're so much more ready.
To ask your thoughts on them, Brian. I did years ago now, 2021, I bought a program from Lauren Lando. I like him a lot. He used to be the strength and conditioning coach for the Broncos. I don't know where he is now. I think he has a facility in the Denver area still, but he had like a lot of his field work, I guess. I don't know what kind of workouts to call them, were just like moving laterally and focusing on deceleration, like we've been talking about, and kind of also the technique of it and loading and staying low and it would be forwards, backwards, side to side. When I did it, this is why I'd love your opinion on it. Then I'll try to shoot you the video. It was another one of those things with like the CNS issues. Like I don't feel like I'm not tired, or I'm like tired in a different way. And so it just mentally, it was like, I'm maybe just not going to do it because I feel like if I'm going to be working out, I need to be doing it this specific way.
Right. Yeah. I'd be interested to see that. I think like from the CNS and rest perspective that we've been talking about, and agility, and Kins, you mentioning that along with deceleration, that's another thing where just the way I end up structuring my programs, I will have more agility work in the conditioning because I try to simplify it and not have like tons of different workouts. So I have like a speed and a conditioning. And I will tell people, if you want to work more on change of direction and agility, do the conditioning stuff with much more rest. Because you need to be working on like changing direction at different angles in different contexts at full speed, or at a game type speed, so that you learn to deal with those forces. And so even if you're looking, Kins, at like, the Grossberg's cutting or other people, simply trying to do it is going to be tough. But like if you mimic some of it, or you try a sharp change of direction, or like a cut and a stutter and cut back, doing it at not full speed can be a nice way to like just like get your body used to handling that momentum, because some of it isn't necessarily that you can't do it, but just like with any training stimulus, like that you have to produce force and handle that momentum in a specific angle that your body's not used to yet. So maybe you just need to start slower, build up your ability to do that, and then it gets better. And it might not ever look exactly like someone else, but it doesn't mean it can't change. Like,
Yeah.
Totally. A lot of it is the knee too. Once the knee feels better, get a lot more confidence to the deceleration on the knee is like so scary when you're
mentally
not
for you
confident
too,
in it.
right?
Yeah.
Absolute. And that's another huge point for people listening. Like, even if you don't have like a scary injury or like if you have pain or stiffness or stuff that you're like subconsciously is in the back of your mind, you're going to be inhibited in your strength and your power and your change direction. You're going to have fewer options, less ability to distribute that force. So that's where like the mobility and the tendon and joint health is so important, because like all else remaining equal, if your strength, your power all stays the same and you improve your joint health, your mobility, you're going to have a better ability to move. Like and I did not used to think that, right? I spent time, I just smashed stuff in the gym all the time. And I remember like when I focused on ankle mobility, like ankle dorsiflexion and hip mobility, and made my knee healthier, I was doing this like crawl, and I started doing a backwards like duck walk. And I like accidentally did a backwards pistol squat. And I was like, I haven't even practiced a pistol squat in like 8 months, but because my hip and my ankle functioned so much better, I didn't even need the practice. My body just like figured out how to do it. So that's just an example of
You're like a newborn baby boy.
Exactly right. My daughter has real good ankle mobility.
Yeah.
She's squatting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's
Yeah, you gotta keep her out of those shoes as she gets older.
I know we have a birthday party coming up, and my wife like sent me. She's like, she has to wear shoes for this event. I know, but like, are these okay? So she already knows to like check with me.
Baby shoes are generally pretty well shaped, right?
It's a funny example of like these things that are important when we're babies, and then society's like, doesn't matter anymore. It's like, oh, you turned 3, like we don't care about your feet anymore.
Pointy shoes look cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Man.
My last question is, I've been seeing a lot of stuff pop up on like my Instagram about, it's like one dude in particular, like this Asian dude in New York, talking about like fascia.
Oh, dude, that guy's crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah, what's up with that? But what do you think about being a fascia-driven athlete, man?
Ooh, I mean, honestly, man, I don't know. Like, fascia is real, but it's like also connected to other things. And I think anytime we just decide to focus on one thing, or like, like
the reason why that guy's a kook is because he's like, this is the only thing that matters. If you were to do it this way, then you would not have gotten hurt. Or like if they're getting hurt because they're not focused, they're focusing on the muscle, not the fascia.
I've seen some of these approaches or systems where people literally like show a professional athlete getting hurt or someone else, and they're like, yeah, there's one right way to move. There's one right, like absolutely not. We're like, Kins, you and I are different structures. We're different shapes. Like not even a different size, but like some people, like one hip is a different structure than their other hip. Like the fact that people think there is one correct way to move or to stand or like is absurd. And any of those like black and white statements are ridiculous. In in everything that I've learned and experienced, and I've learned from people way, way smarter than me, I really believe strongly in prioritizing joint health and mobility as a part of a holistic program. That doesn't mean everyone has to do it the same way. That doesn't mean everyone, like there are people who, for whatever reason, they don't have pain with what they're doing. They lift, they do stuff. That's great. And I'll be the first to say that like not every approach works the same way for everyone. We're very complicated. So yeah, when things seem like super rigid, super black and white, that's an immediate red flag.
Yeah.
But I want to be fascia driven.
Yeah, it sounds nice. That's like, I mean, fascia is a real thing, you know, but like, so is everything is connected. Everything is connected, and people can point to like this little thing here affects this shoulder, affects that, and it's like, yeah, things are connected, but you can't just like I said, we're not a perfect algorithm where you just know like, oh, you're having pain here, it must be because of that. And another thing is the whole social media trend of trainers being like, oh, I could have prevented this injury, or I'm going to take a 4-second clip of this basketball player's training and use it as proof that they're not training right and I could have trained them better. And like, I can look at players and be like, man, it would be cool to like assess them and work with them, and maybe, you know, reduce some of their injury severity. But like, I don't have the ego to be like, I can prevent their injuries. Like I can't prevent my own injuries. I can like make them less likely to occur and less severe, but we're way too complicated, and assuming that we know everything that's going on in these people's lives is ridiculous.
Shit happens.
Always. Yeah.
You know what? I just thought of kind of on the flip side of that is like I'll watch like LeBron's workouts, and he doesn't, for like how big he is and clearly strong, his workouts are like, that's weird. Like I wouldn't think that would work, or I wouldn't. It doesn't, like he does like a lot of really wide stance squats with like a lot, and it's like not that full range of motion. And like I see the comments, a lot of the comments are like, this looks easy, whatever, blah blah blah. But then you think about, I mean, he's 41 years old, or he's turning 41 in December, and he's still like one of the best 10 players in the NBA. Like something's working.
It's a great point, because like it goes back to like, he is a genetic outlier for sure, but also like a lot of his success does have to do with him just keeping himself healthy. And it goes back to like, you see him doing these like weird sumo deadlifts with like, you know, his chest up and kind of awkward squats, with like his back super extended. But the exercise is not his sport. And if it's not hurting him and it's helping him like maintain his strength, you know, there's a lot of ways you can do an exercise. It's clearly working. Just like you look at adaptations, if you've seen his feet before, like there's pictures that go around. Up. Yeah, but they're adapted to basketball, and they're adapted to how he plays.
I wonder if that will cause him issues later in life, but we'll see.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like I'm sure there's been, but like for his sport, that's the adaptation that works. If someone was like, hey, I'm going to do surgery on your feet to make your toes straight, like he might not have the ability to play the way he does. So yeah, it's always worth thinking about like, what am I actually training for? And another big point with that is people co-opt these or take on like powerlifting programs, or like these programs where they're lifting 5-6 days a week. They're doing a bunch of sets. They're doing chest, back, leg splits, whatever. And they're training.
He always back day. Arms.
Yeah. Which like, again, hey, that's okay. But it's just, you want to think about what you're training for. And like, if you were taking your training programs from football players, you're not a football player. Like if you're taking your training program from a power lifter, their sport is literally lifting. So they can handle way more volume of training because they're practicing and training at the same time. For us, like you're in the gym, that's not practice, that's training. So I think it's worth, just like with sprinters, it's like when they're out on the track, they're training and practicing, versus when we're on the track, you know, that's not, we also have to practice.
Question about the track stuff. I want to get to the website and one more comment on Tobias because he works really hard, but he's played too much for someone his age. That's one issue. Mm-hmm. Another issue is I think his mom and I talked about this. His mom thinks that he doesn't take enough breaks. Actually, he's like at U24 Worlds, for instance. He was like, Mike, what gym did you go to? Because I really want to get like an upper pump in. I'm like, dude, you're at Worlds. You should not do that. He's like, yeah, but these games are easy. I'm not really using my arms. So like yeah, but still. And so he cramps all the time. He's got hip issues now. He's got some certain imbalances. He is lean as fuck. He's ripped. He's definitely fit. But I do think we need to get him on a program longer term because he right now, like a lot of the way he trains, it's to look good. And he does look good. And he's still really good at Frisbee. But I do wonder if we need to get ahead of that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to change topics, but if you have a comment on that.
I mean, just real quick. Yeah, reducing the volume of training is huge. Like that is what I was like. I trained like I played football, and like I was also going to be like a figure competitor, and like I was just like always lean and jacked, and I trained like that, and like it didn't help. And like you don't want your like the effort is big, and I'm sure that has helped him with strength overall, and that's great. And like clearly it's work on the field. However, like you want your training to support your playing, not to detract from it. And like at some point, something's going to give. And I can tell you from experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of glad he's not playing the club season. He's not going to be playing the fall because that kid needs a break for his hips.
Yeah.
Okay, before I go to the track question, do you have thoughts on cramping and just being lean in general? Just because those are two things. Like he is super lean. Mm-hmm. I guess separate from the Tobias issue, does it matter? Like, should you aim for being lean as a Frisbee athlete? Is it a thing that matters at all? Should you be focusing on that as an element of training?
I think it depends because like certain people have different set points in terms of being lean. But generally, if you have a certain level of strength or power and you're less weight, you're going to be more relatively powerful. Right. It doesn't mean you have to be lean or look lean to be in great shape. I think like the way you look specifically doesn't impact how you play. But again, it's like for me, if I'm 5'6" and I'm, when I'm playing at my like playing weight, I'm probably somewhere around 158 pounds. And if I go up to 161, I'm just not going to be quite as quick. I'm not going to jump quite as high. And I know all muscle. Probably, at this point, probably because like at this point, if I put on 3 pounds of muscle, like I don't. It's a little more on the joints, particularly. I don't have a really big frame, so it's like if I'm Kins and I put on 3 pounds of muscle, that's distributed over a bigger frame. But I know that just being a little bit less weight, I'm generally going to be a little bit quicker. That's going to be different for everybody. I do think more than being lean, focusing on just being healthy is helpful. So you're getting the nutrients you need. You're not eating getting well, you're eating well, you're not getting excess. And the only reason, like, you can be whatever weight, whatever leanness you want, and that feels good to you, but just recognizing that, like, I feel good and I'm healthy at this leanness, and I'm generally very lean. I just know that I don't feel as well or play as well if I'm a little bit less lean. Yeah. Now the reality is, like, if you were yeah. If you have like, paper thin skin, like you're so lean, you're like 3%. Most people who they think they're a lot less body fat than they are, but you can be such low body fat that like you don't have a lot of energy stores in your body. That's possible. Right. Like
a
like
bodybuilder at showtime.
exactly, which is so important because bodybuilders don't look like that year round.
Yeah.
They don't look like that the next day. So for me, I think like hydration status is going to play a part with cramping as well as electrolytes. I used to pound water at tournaments and I cramped up like crazy. So you need to make sure you're not just getting water, but getting electrolytes. And
Yeah.
a little tip that I recommend is having at least 2 water bottles, one with water and one with a high concentration of electrolytes. The reason, like if, for example, if you have an electrolyte powder or you have like Noon tablets or whatever, and it says to put like 2 tablets in 32 ounces, put 4 or 5 or 6. So that way, if you notice like, wow, I need electrolytes, I'm cramping. If you have like a solution of electrolytes that's like sort of normalish, you're going to still have to drink a good amount of water to get them. If you have a really high concentration, you can have a small amount of liquid and get those electrolytes more quickly. And then you can just take small sips.
I've actually converted to pills, and that's
There you go.
been really good for me. Um, I, I'm trying to think of other factors for Toby specifically, but I think is applicable to maybe a wider audience. Is I think that the energy drinks are really bad. I know for a fact that generally, if I sip on a Red Bull, I'll be okay. But like I pounded a Celsius, which is like 200 milligrams of caffeine versus 90. I
Yeah.
cramped. Like I think that fewer energy drinks are probably would go a long way in people's ability to not cramp. And I also wonder, and I'll let you go, is again footwear. I think people's when they're, at least for me in my experience, when my cleats are too tight, then my arches start cramping, and then my
Yeah.
calves start cramping, and then everything else just kind of goes to shit. But if I have enough room for my feet to just do what they're supposed to do, that doesn't happen for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that probably plays a role. I do think with energy drinks, if you're having particularly stuff that you're not fully used to, or you like very drastically change your caffeine intake, that can play a role. It can mess with your nervous system. We had a 4-game day on Saturday last weekend, and I had a Celsius, but what I do is I sip it, like literally I sip it over the course of 2 games. So I have it over the course of like 4 hours, because I know like if I have that all at once, I'm going to feel like crap. I'm going to be jittery. And for me, it's too much caffeine, but for a long day, it can help a little. But yeah, I would not have that stuff, the stuff that is packed with so much caffeine, that particularly if you're not used to it. That's the bit, like, I don't think it's terribly healthy. However, what's even more impactful on your performance is if it's something you're not used to doing on a regular basis and then you do it. Like I've seen people do 5-hour energies and then they feel like absolute crap because their body is freaking out.
Yeah. I'm more and more out on energy drinks, to be honest. I think that they serve a purpose and can be helpful. I know caffeine has had there's studies showing that it is a performance enhancer. I love caffeine. I'm drinking coffee right now, but as like I happen to have an empty can of Red Bull here because a lot of people left them at my house after US Open. I don't know. It seems like something that you shouldn't have to rely on.
Yeah, I think ideally, I know a lot of people do. And I can't say I know exactly how it affects you. I think it will affect people very differently, but if you're drinking coffee, it's just coffee. If you're drinking energy drinks, they put all kinds of stuff in those. That I think there's a wide variety of how it will affect people.
Right. Okay, I want to ask about the track stuff.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about, a track being its own sport. I nerd out about all sorts of training. So, I see people doing all sorts of skips on the track, like A skips, B skips, C skips, whatever, like different types of running. I may have asked you about this before. Like, do you have opinions on that as far as it's a transferability to frisbee, like bang for the buck?
Yeah, I think there's value in some of the different skips. I will do just kind of the regular. I'll do like A skips. I'll do high knees, butt kickers, and I'm focused on kind of rhythm with that. Getting a good rhythm with your upper and lower body. I don't do a ton of like track specific drills and like hurdles or wickets and things like that, because I think a lot of those warm-ups, like a lot of ultimate warm-ups, and they're different now, but there's times where like it's like no matter what sport you do, people will do like a track warm-up. But in ultimate, we're moving all different directions. So I do a lot of lateral movement. So I take out some of the track drills in my warm-ups, and I will do more shuffles and lateral runs, crossovers, cross unders. Because yes, we are going to be sprinting, but we're not going to be straight line sprinting for the majority of our playing. So I think, yeah, if you're doing a speed workout, it makes sense to do maybe some more of those track specific drills or warm-ups. But I like to, every warm-up I do, I like to get in kind of 3-dimensional movement as much as possible.
Do you have any sense of, are some of those drills, like, are they as effective on grass with cleats, where you're like, it's a different surface and you're like kind of tugging the ground instead of, I don't know, popping off a track?
I think some of them can be, because some of them where you're essentially like with the ball of your foot, you're kind of like pulling as you come down and like catching grass. So you might have to do it slightly differently. I do think that applies somewhat, because when we are sprinting or we're accelerating, we're kind of grabbing the grass with our cleats. But yeah, I think it all looks better on a track.
It does.
Yeah. So yeah, I will play around with some of them. I threw in our workout last week. We did some of like the sort of straight leg bounds, which are fun, where your feet kind of strike in front of you. I like those a lot. So there's some I'll throw in. I often will vary my own warm-ups a little bit, where the purpose is to get warmed up and get physically and coordination wise ready to go. And I feel like there's just a lot of ways that you can do that without doing the same exact thing every time.
Sick.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll share my screen here. And Kins, do you have any other questions before that?
Mm-mm.
Or Brian, was there anything else that you wanted to hit on?
Let's see. I think we hit most things. I think
I have the Gate Happens website up.
Sweet. I think while you're doing that, actually, I was going to talk a little bit about tempos, because we talked about sprinting and conditioning.
Can you give me your URL quickly before?
Oh yeah. Let me get that up.
Oh wait, I think I found it. Okay.
Oh, did you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Go ahead. Though. Tempos.
Yeah. So I was going to say with tempos. So a big purpose of that is to get some lower intensity, lower nervous system activity in. That's going to still help with your fitness level, still help with your sprinting, but it can allow you to have a lower intensity day that's still productive. So some of it is like maybe you're running 70s submaximal speeds, like we kind of talked about, with enough rest that you're not getting super exhausted, but you're just keeping your aerobic system going throughout. But another way that you can do that is going to a field and 20, 30 yards, side shuffle down, side shuffle back, karaoke, crossovers, skips, jog, backpedal. So, and you're just cycling through that. You can throw in some cars, some mobility work. You can throw in lunges, crawls. So you're moving in all different directions continuously for maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes. And that functions kind of like a tempo. So you're getting some aerobic work in there. You're getting your whole body working in all different directions, but it's not a high load day on either your muscles or your nervous system.
That's a great alternative.
Yeah, so just want to throw that in. That's an option for a field workout.
Shall we? You want to give me a little tour here? This would be great for me because.
I
need it.
Absolutely. So, this is my Ultimate Mobility membership. This is where this is just for Ultimate Frisbee players. You can see in here, we kind of have our own little message boards. I do a weekly check-in post where I'll prompt people with questions, and then members will respond like what they're working on, some of their biggest wins for the week. They'll mention like they'll ask, or I will ask how I can help them, and they'll let me know. All the blue stuff that shows up is like new things. So lots of good stuff in here. It's a really fun community, but we also have programs. So I have an in-season program that you can follow. I have a preseason and off-season. If you go to Classroom up at the top, and then go into like seasonal programs to the right, the Ultimate Mobility program is like you can do anytime. So I kind of like give an overview, showing like what you can, what it's all about, how to make the most of it. Because as I said before, programs are very not one size fits all, anti one size fits all, right? There's a lot of variables. So this is a way that you can kind of make the most of it for yourself. I even made a podcast episode that I kind of linked at the bottom here that kind of dives into exactly how you can modify the program to fit your needs. So what's nice about this is it's like $29 a month. It's relatively cheap for what you get. We do live weekly calls, which I record. A lot of this stuff unlocks kind of over time, and you get just tons of resources, but also follow along programs. You can hop on, ask me questions. So Mikey's in here right now. He's in the program. And so what's cool is he can invite people to the program, and Pod Practice will get a portion of that. So I have it set up so that if you're interested in the program, don't join through my website, join through Mikey's link, which I think he'll post probably on the show notes. And that way you will be supporting Pod Practice, and you'll get access to the membership. You won't pay any more money.
Amazing.
So it's really cool. This is something that I'm very passionate about, because Kins actually joined a program I had online a couple of years ago, which was way more expensive. And I wanted to create something that was really accessible that people could join. There's no monthly commitment. There's even a free trial. And I just wanted to create a community of like-minded athletes where you can get support. You can ask questions. You can join in to different conversations. And it's been really valuable for a lot of people. So it's been exciting to watch this grow. So if you like the stuff we've talked about, there's a lot of really actionable stuff you can do here.
Sweet. So this, like what I'm looking at right here, is like a general in-season, off-season, and preseason program.
Right. And like every year I kind of like revamp them. So like if you click like where it says click here, that will bring you to spreadsheet.
I'm in a new tab.
Oh, okay. So that'll bring you to the spreadsheet with tabs with all the different workouts that we do.
It actually says I need permission to.
I can.
Access denied. Should I request?
Yeah, you can request permission, and then I can give you permission. They don't all have that, but yeah. Oh, there we go. I just got the notification, and so yeah, if you're interested in this and you wanna see it and check it out, you can join. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about the website. I see a lot of great resources. Is there like, do you have like different membership levels? Like, so this would be, I think like my eye goes directly to the seasonal programs because like, okay, sick. I want a plan to follow.
Right.
Like if somebody wants something that's more personalized or whatever, is that something? Is that a different type of membership?
Yeah, so that would be a different tier. I have kind of a private Ultimate Mobility Pro program, and you can see like down below. So people who want to do that, that's a little more personalized. You're going to get more support from me. I'm going to help you kind of customize the program, and you get it all on a training app.
Okay, cool.
So that's a higher tier. But what I tell people for this program is when you join, really the more proactive you are, the more support I can give you. So there's people who join and they follow the programs, they kind of lurk, but they get they get good benefits, and that's awesome. I don't have any agenda for how much you participate. And then there's some people who join and they like regularly ask questions. They hop on the live calls. They're like super engaged and they get a ton out of it because, if you ask me questions, I'm going to answer you. If you want support, I can't customize the program for you, but I will help guide you, to make the most out of it.
And so ways to do that would be with like the weekly check-in, and then is that just on the board, or is the like to ask you jump on a call with you, is that something separate?
Yeah, so if you actually go to calendar right there at the top, the calls are in the calendar.
I see.
And so you get prompted, you get an email the day before saying, hey, we have a live call.
I've seen that.
So that's just a Zoom call. Anyone can hop on, and occasionally I have like one or two people. So you kind of get like a private troubleshooting session. I record those as well. And then for the weekly check-ins, I send that directly to the members' email. So each week, usually like Sunday, you'll get the notification. So you can even click in the weekly, click that, and it'll show you like Victoria, message. And so I sent her some resources. So what I'll often do is I like to encourage and reinforce good things that people are doing. And then I'll comment with resources or advice if they specifically ask for it. But this was cool. We get some good, pretty cool feedback from people who've been in the program for a while.
Yeah, it's interesting to see 2 out of the 3 just scanning them were dealing with some Achilles issues, which I feel like it's just so common.
And the cool thing too, with this, the membership and the stuff that people are dealing with in the membership has helped guide the stuff that I create. So I didn't used to have seasonal programs. I had kind of one ultimate mobility program that showed the mobility and had a general strength and speed and conditioning. And people wanted preseason, off-season, etc. So I created those. I created the Achilles pain protocol because I noticed so many people in the program, in the membership, were dealing with Achilles stuff. So you kind of have some power in there to help guide how the membership grows.
That's great. Anything else that you want to highlight?
Let's see. There is a map, which is cool. So you can see where everyone
France.
Now they say the pins are off by at least 10 miles for privacy. So people don't know exactly where you are, but it gives people generally, I think we found Mikey.
That's relatively close.
Yeah. So it's not going to give your location away, but it's kind of fun to see where everyone is. I think we have a bunch of people near the Seattle area, a lot of people in on the East Coast.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That makes sense. This is your hub.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's something that has been really fun for me, in addition to the programs for people to follow and the education. I wanted to create a place where people could interact, get to know more people in
Look at this.
a fun environment. Yeah. We got some, Philippines and yeah. So we got people all over, which is fun.
Japan, Australia.
Oh yeah.
I wish we had a map like this for our listeners.
Oh, that would be really fun. Just get all your listeners to join, and then we'll see them all on the map. And
Slovakia. I know Martinez from Slovakia, I believe.
Oh.
Kins. Awesome. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So as I said, we've got this cool partnership with the pod. So, if you find Mikey's link that he shares,
My beautiful face here.
Look at that. That's our guy. Then you will give a kickback. So part of your monthly fee will actually go to pod practice.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you for setting it up for us, Brian.
You're welcome. Yeah. I was excited to do it.
That's sick.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. We've covered the gamut again today, Brian.
Yeah. I love
Any
this.
other final thoughts?
Oh man. I think the big thing that I kind of reinforced was just remember with some of your training, what is your real goal? And I also want to say, don't overthink it, because there's so many ways to do something. So if you're training and you're consistent and you're feeling good and making progress, that's awesome. And that's really valuable. And even if it's not exactly like I've been talking about, stay consistent. Don't get discouraged, because, different things work for everybody. But the consistency is really key. And if you're not feeling how you want, there's always hope. Like, there's always potential for positive change. Like, Mikey's made progress, Kins has made progress, different places in their careers, different injury histories. You can do it too.
Yes. Very well said. All right. All right, BNev. Thanks for being here again. I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future, because training updates are always helpful, and I think top of mind for most Frisbee players.
For sure. And we're always learning more.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Sweet. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Peace
thanks
out.
for having me. See ya.